Hello and welcome to MedMind Spectrum. In this video, you will learn about anatomy of the sternum. First, parts of the sternum. Second, articulations of the sternum, muscle attachments of the sternum, and lastly, the plane of the sternal angle. To begin with, the parts. It mainly consists of three parts, and these are the manubrium, the body, and the xiphoid process. The articulations, it articulates with the clavicle and the upper 7 pairs of ribs. The manubrium particularly is the one that articulates with the clavicle and the first pair of ribs. The second to the 7th pair of ribs articulate with the rest of the sternum, that is the body and the xiphoid process. In now a detailed fashion, let's look at the different parts of the sternum. First, the manubrium. Superiorly, it presents a notch which we call the suprasternal or jugular notch. And this makes sense because supra means superior and sternal for sternum. So it is a suprasternal notch to mean it is a notch that is at the superior end of the sternum. Because the manubrium articulates with the clavicle, it presents a clavicular notch for articulating with the sternal end of the clavicle to form what is known as the sternoclavicular joint. It also articulates with the first pair of ribs. Therefore, it has a notch for articulating with the first costal cartilage. That means it is from the first pair of ribs to form the primary cartilaginous joint. It also has a demifacet for articulating with the upper part of the second costal cartilage. That means the manubrium articulates with the first pair of ribs, but also with the upper part of the second pair of ribs. At its lower border, it joins the upper border of the body to form the sternal angle. Next in line is the body of the sternum. This presents a demifacet for articulating with the lower part of the second costal cartilage. That means the second pair of ribs articulates with both the manubrium and the body of the sternum. It has notches for articulating with the third, fourth, fifth, and sixth costal cartilages. That means these costal cartilages or these pairs of ribs, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth, particularly articulate with the body of the sternum. The anterior surface of the sternum presents transverse ridges, which are irregular surfaces on the body. It also presents a demifacet for articulating with the upper part of the 7th costal cartilage. And the last part being the smallest, the xiphoid process, it has a demifacet for articulating with the lower part of the 7th costal cartilage. It means two pairs of ribs share articulation on two different bones or parts of this bone. One, the second pair articulates with the manubrium as well as the body, and the 7th pair articulates with the body as well as the xiphoid process. Regarding the muscle attachments, we shall look at the muscles attached anteriorly and the muscles attached posteriorly. Do not forget the sternum consists of the manubrium, the body, and the xiphoid process. Anteriorly, the manubrium has origin of mainly two muscles. One, the sternocleidomastoid mastoid muscle, and this is a muscle of the neck. The second muscle traverses up to the body, and this is the pectoralis major muscle. The third muscle arises from the xiphoid process, and this is the rectus abdominis muscle. Posteriorly, the manubrium also presents origin of two muscles, which are all muscles of the neck. One, the sternohyoid muscle and the sternothyroid muscle. The body of the sternum gives origin to transversus thoracis, and the xiphoid process provides origin to the diaphragm posteriorly. Before we look at the plane of the sternal angle, let's first look at the different vertebral levels of the thorax. We have the plane that runs on the suprasternal notch. This, when transected, it just lies opposite the lower border of T2 or the second thoracic vertebrae. We have the plane of the sternal angle, a plane that runs from the lower body of the manubrium, and it will just land on the lower body of the T4. This implies that the sternal angle lies just opposite the lower border of T4. The last plane is the plane of the Xiphoid joint, the point where the body joins the xiphoid process. This lies opposite the body of the T9 thoracic vertebra. This implies that the third and the fourth thoracic vertebrae lie just opposite of the manubrium, and the 5th to the 8th vertebrae, and some small part of the 9th, they lie opposite the body of the sternum. Now let's look at the plane of the sternal angle, a plane just from the lower border of the T4 to the sternal angle as shown in the diagram just in the middle of the slide. It runs from the lower border of the T4 to the sternal angle. They are very interesting landmarks that one should know, and they are very applicable in medical practice. First, it is at this point where the azygos vein enters the superior vena cava. At this point, we also have the bifurcation of the trachea into the right and left bronchi. We also have bifurcation of the pulmonary trunk. This is just below the angle to form the left and right pulmonary artery. We also have the aortic arch beginning and ending. As you can see, this implies that when the aortic arch is beginning, the ascending aorta is ending. And at the point where the aortic arch ends, the descending aorta begins. This is the end, and thanks for watching.